I'll take it from there.
Hey everyone, my guest today is the three-time Emmy Award-winning actor, producer, director, activist, Bradley Whitford. Bradley has done so many films and TV shows and plays, so we're just going to do, as I promised him, a very truncated version of his resume. And then he can, when I finish, just continue for the next hour telling us the rest of the things. But
I'll,
some of his TV credits include The Diplomat, which is currently filming in New York City, The Handmaid's Tale, Transparent, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip, and of course, we all fell in love with him as Josh Lyman on The West Wing. Some of his gazillion film credits include Billy Madison, The Cabin in the Woods, Godzilla, Get Out, The Post, Tick, Tick, Boom, Rosalie, and many more. On Broadway, he starred in A Few Good Men, Curse of the Starving Class, Boeing, Boeing, Measure for Measure, 3 Days of Rain, and more. And he's probably one of the people I've known longest to be a guest on this podcast. So welcome. Thank
yeah,
you.
when did we meet? We met in. Was it? Was it
Well,
in
it
the
was when
80s?
it was my first talkie,
It was, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I had to figure out because I used to talk like this, and then they wanted me to not. It was at Vassar. I was
Yes.
doing a play that Max Mayer wrote. No, that not that
Max
Max
directed.
Mayer directed. And
Was it
Jane
a
Kasmarek and Alex Gersten, a George Walker play.
a George Walker play? I loved
Yeah,
George Walker.
me too. Me too. A glorious, I think, Canadian playwright. And
Yes.
I'm sure you were doing, maybe a Nikki Silver play, or maybe you were doing,
Yeah, was I
uh,
doing a Nikki Silver thing? I think I
maybe,
was.
I think so, but it was just the best summer theater camp any of us could have hoped for or dreamed of.
Yeah, boy, I have such fond memories of that place. I remember we had just found um, a couple of kittens. Uh, I heard them. I was walking my dog in Central Park, and they were abandoned kittens. I waited and they were, and we brought them up. Uh, Jane and I brought them up, and uh, because we knew we were going to New York Stage and Film, and we didn't know what to call them. And I looked out the window, and Dennis Boutsikaris walked by, and we named one of the cats Dennis.
And the other one, Deborah Headwall.
No, no, and the other one was Noisy Boy.
Of course. Why would
Yeah.
I say his wife at the time when in
Yes,
fact it
exactly.
was that's so funny because so much of my recent conversation with your wife Amy Landecker recently in fact not all of it could be in the podcast episode because we got derailed was her finding a dog on the street that she
Yes.
ended up keeping at the
It,
theater in and then finally letting go of.
yes, yes. We have a, I joke that I am there've been a couple of times in my life where I have a lot of stray animals.
Hmm.
And, I mean, not like hoarder level,
Sure.
but I do approach, I have these moments where I realize I'm a shit rancher. I am just like processing food here. So we currently have
I'm
about
sorry. I want to go back a minute because that's a phrase I'm not familiar with. You are a what?
a shit rancher. No, just that I realized that my like much of my day would be spent dealing with some sort of adorable animals
Yeah. And what
excrement.
they do, what their bodily functions need and
It's the
do.
most natural thing in the world, and you should never attach shame to it.
I would never. And I feel so happy because now I can see the viral clip. Like it's all, you've done the work for me. We don't even need to continue this
No, no,
conversation
no,
because of
no.
your
We nailed it.
description. Well,
But we
let's go
had two
back.
dogs and four cats. No, three cats
Yeah.
currently in the rotation. We
Incredible.
recently lost a couple of dogs, but
I'm
now
sorry.
we got another, and we sort of have a second one, and we have three cats. And Amy calls me from the street going, "Oh my God, this is the and I'm like, oh, honey,
Oh, Amy.
don't. We
But then
can't.
you're like, you know what? I'm a shit rancher. A
I
hundred
am a shit
percent bring that in.
rancher.
Okay, let's go back in time for a minute
Okay.
because I mean, I've known you since that glorious, pardon me, summer in Vassar,
Yes.
and every so often we get to cross paths, and it's always a delight. But I realize that can we go back in time a little bit?
Yeah.
Like, who tell me about where you grew up and who was in your house with you, and when becoming an artist in whatever way, shape, or form you might have imagined it as a younger person. Like, let's
Yeah.
do a little origin story if you don't mind.
I do not mind. I
Okay.
am from kind of a funny family in that uh, my parents had three kids and basically a 10-year break. And then my brother, the mistake, and I'm kind of the mistake's friend. My mom was in her mid 40s when I was born, which was very odd. I have a sister who's
Yeah.
20 years older than me, who's
Yeah.
85 or 86 now. Um, and it was, so they had like two families almost. And I had a really idyllic childhood, I would say. I look back and I can see now, there's something about you know, when your last kid comes along, you realize, and for my parents, by the time I came along, they knew what parents learn after they raise kids, which is they are going to be what they are. And
Mm,
and I really believe unless you're almost intentionally or criminally abusive, they are going to be what they are going to be. And so my parents had this sort of unspoken kind of, and they were of the generation of just love them and keep them out of traffic. My family was Quaker. They had become Quakers. Uh, uh, my mom, because my mom, the only thing she wanted in her obituary was a proud atheist. And we became Quakers before I was born because there's no minister or rabbi or what my mother referred to as some goddamn man in a costume telling her what was holy. So it was that kind of but I did a play in seventh grade and getting to the artist part of this. And I had a sort of a cheesy epiphany moment doing playing Teddy Roosevelt in Our Stick at Old Lace in this very silly production. I was absolutely terrified. I remember standing backstage. I was sick. I had seen my brother in a play and my sister in a play, and I had had stage fright for them while they were doing it. Like, why would anybody want to put themselves in that position? And that
yeah.
was where I was, shivering backstage with a fake mustache on. And then, probably because I was so scared, I kind of nailed the entrance, uh, just the energy of the fear. And the audience, I got a huge reaction. It's probably the best work I've ever done. And I got a
I mean,
huge,
I've heard that. I've heard that.
yes, I got a huge reaction. And like, I had this like epiphany that, oh my God, this is the only integrated experience I've ever had. When I'm reading, I'm shutting my body off. When I'm playing a sport, I'm shutting my heart and my head off. Um, and I was like, and this was kind of like dancing with the audience while you're dancing with the actors, and it was this like a hair raising experience for me. Now, you know, then I was in every play I could possibly be in. It never occurred to me to become an actor professionally. I didn't live in New York or LA where you know someone or you know someone's cousin was in a movie or something. To say that you wanted to be an actor or even entertain it was completely unrealistic and totally vain. So I was not like, yeah, I want to be an actor, but I was just in as many plays as I could be in. Then I went to college. I went to Wesleyan, um, uh, and but I was initially a philosophy major and an English major. I ended up English and theater, but there was a great thing about Wesleyan, which was and name drop. I've talked with Lin Miranda about this. It was kind of a dysfunctional theater department, and so we just put on plays over and over. We generated our own work, and I was in a gazillion plays, and I'm really grateful for that experience where I was not. Um, I worry about young people today because there's such a premature specialization thing going on, and then on kind of a whim, I applied to Juilliard and I got in, and I'm really grateful, and there it's like, it was the 80s where it was like teaching through intimidation. It was I ached because there were some people there who had not gone to college yet. And they had not had a kind of free range, joyous theater experience. I remember opening that letter from Juilliard though and going, oh, fuck. Like, I guess, like, I'm gonna like try to be an actor, which,
Right.
seemed like a crazy thing to do. And I remember
Yeah.
informing my father that I had got in, the poor guy. And yeah, Juilliard was 4 years, and I was the fifth kid. And uh, I said, just think of it as like med school with guaranteed unemployment at the end.
He's like, that
Um,
sounds great.
he's like, that sounds great. And my parents were, I feel like, I don't know, you've raised kids. I met your uh, incredible child who is showbiz adjacent, right? So you've raised a kid, but there was something different when my parents were raising kids because my father loved me. My father really cared about education, but uh, in spring of my senior year, in like March of my senior year of high school, my dad's at breakfast drinking coffee, and he goes, "Jesus, did you apply to college?" Because you didn't, and part of it was you could just go to the University of Wisconsin.
Sure. In your
Um,
backyard. Yeah.
but I feel like our generation of parents, which is, and I think in general, there's pluses and minuses, and I think we're on the plus side, but we're much more involved.
Right.
And the problem with that is, I think about this a lot. We look at our little kids and we go, okay, we're totally cool, but what are you? What are you? We'll support whatever you are, but are you a jock? We'll do
Yeah.
that. Are you an
Yeah.
artist? Or
Yeah.
are you like a brainiac? We'll do that, but what are you? And this is a weird name drop, but I had this. I don't know him well, but I've a couple of times met Bruce Springsteen because he did a. It's just a name drop. He did a song for Philadelphia,
Right. A film you were
that
in.
I was in. Um, but one time we were, yeah,
By the
we were
way,
talking.
please don't rush through this.
Don't rush through the boss
Don't rush
story.
through this.
I'm not
I'm from
friends
New
with him.
Jersey. I didn't say I'm not implying that you are more or less,
I
but
love him.
don't feel like because it's Bruce Springsteen, this is a story to rush through.
Okay,
Take your time, have a sip of coffee. We are in.
we're
Our
in.
ears are perked. Yes.
I love Bruce Springsteen. I find his creative life incredibly inspiring. Um, but yeah, why? Where was it? It was in Belfast, And
You were
I
in Belfast with Bruce Springsteen.
with the boss, Belfast with the boss.
Why?
I was seeing a concert he was in.
Okay. And he knew you were there
Yes.
because you can tell him that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Exactly.
Um, he's super sweet. Like, plays for like 4 hours, and then I'll tell you afterwards. But I was talking about this sort of parenting quandary, and I was like, yeah, like what if your mom had come down when you were 13 and said, man, I think you got something,
Yeah.
like something special. So you're going to start taking guitar lessons. And he said something to the effect of, well, I'd be a drunk in Newark.
Uh,
And it's a parenting quandary that I think about, and I'm really grateful because I could tell my dad was an incredible musician who did not have that option. He had a perfect ear. He could play any song by ear on the piano, but he came out of the depression and got a job at an insurance company. But I could tell he was thrilled by it. But my parents didn't do what I would have done. I would have seen myself in that play in seventh grade. I would have gone, "Oh my God, I've never seen you happier. Do you want
yeah.
to take an acting class?"
Yeah.
And I worry that if they did that, I would have pulled against the leash.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
would it would have become a job.
Yeah. It's certainly
Anyway, then
possible.
then Bruce and I made love, and it was
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. That's incredible. Is there footage?
Yes, but
Great.
he's got it in the barn in Jersey.
I mean, my fantasy about him, I sat at a table with him once in my life, and he was with Patty already.
Yeah,
And I couldn't I spoke not one word, I don't think, but just how normal they were.
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
just so hanging out, watching other musicians play. And it was
It
just
was
nice to
funny
breathe the
because
same air as them.
yeah. No, he's it was funny because that night he said like he was talking about something else, and he's like, well, like man, like you know, marriage, kids, you know, make make an art, like risk creates intimacy, right? Like yes, yes.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean.
And
And yes.
and it was funny because he was asking about doing long runs of plays. This was before he did his,
Hmm.
and he's like, like you've just seen him play for like 4 hours, and he's like, how do you make it like the first kiss every night? And I'm like, I think you're,
Yeah, I think you're going to find that your 10,000 hours will prepare you for this
yeah.
very moment. I want to I mean, we'll get
Back to
Bruce on the
me.
show, but back to you because this is your time and Bruce will have his episode and
Yeah,
that
yeah,
will
yeah,
be
yeah.
his time. When you look back at sort of like, I mean, I had forgotten until I was deep diving back into your life about the Few Good Men of it all.
Yes.
Is A Few Good Men where you first met Aaron Sorkin, or did you know him before that?
No, no, that he there was a girl in my class, Melissa Gallagher, at Juilliard, and he had dated Megan, who was I had met him. He was
I'm
dating a friend
sorry,
of
is Melissa Gallagher's friend Megan, or do you call Melissa Gallagher Megan?
no, Melissa Gallagher's sister Megan
Thank you.
dated Aaron Sorkin,
Okay.
and I think she had sort of mentioned that. And I originally went in what is now known as the sort of Kevin Bacon part, and I understudied the lead part, and then I got to play the lead when they thought it was going to close. Um, and that was it was a really big thing because the play had been running for a while, and no offense to people like me, but usually when play is running out of steam, you give the lead part to some fading, aging, television personality. And instead, Aaron kind of went out on a limb and gave it to me, which was an incredible. I remember my apartment was, I had an apartment, a studio that was $328.57 on the Upper West Side. Uh, and the dressing room at the Music Box was bigger than that. And
Right.
one of my favorite memories is I moved my dog Luke and I just moved into the theater. We had back then 24-hour uh, uh,
Security.
yeah, and I just kind of lived in like Richard Burton's
Wow.
dressing room. It was like crazy.
Wow. That
And
was your
that play
Broadway
was
debut, right? Is that your Broadway
that
debut?
was my Broadway debut. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it was just a joy.
And is that where you met Josh Molina? Or did you not? Were you
Who?
in the play? Am I saying his name right? Jocelyn?
Jocelyn Molina. Yes. Now this is a true story. You know the Josh stuff, right? Like the
Yeah.
tension. Yes.
Yeah. I
A few
thought performative tension.
yes, yeah. It's a mysterious tension.
Okay.
But Josh, the problem is Josh's propensity for practical joking, which
Right.
occasionally gets him into trouble.
Hmm.
Uh, but I was doing. I think it was the first night I played the lead. I was terrified. I didn't really know Josh.
Not since Teddy Roosevelt.
Not since Teddy Roosevelt. No, and like Aaron Sorkin stuff is, it's like you're jumping on a train. I
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
standing back there again thinking, a thought I think a lot in my job is right before you go on, it's like, oh, I have every other line for, 2 hours and 40. I think I know it, but I
Yeah.
can't think of them right now.
No, they're not
And
there.
there's 1,500 people out there.
Oh my
You
God.
could sentence people to this and crime would go down. Do you know what I mean? Like, why have I
It's
volunteered?
awful.
Why
Yes.
have I volunteered to do this? So I'm
Yes.
terrified, I get through the first act, and then there's a big trial scene in the second act, and I go out and I put my briefcase down, and I'm facing the audience, and I open up the briefcase, about to do my big scene, and it is plastered with pornography that haunts me to this day, which Josh Molina has, put inside my briefcase. You know, he, he put uh, itching powder in the Marine Guard, uniform. You know the great thing do you know the great thing I
Tell
won't
me.
go into. I don't want this to be about Josh, and I don't even know if
And
Josh
Bruce,
is.
Josh and Bruce Springsteen.
Yes, yeah. And listen, honestly, I don't even know if Josh is still trying to do the acting thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but he did something to me, and I'm going to tell this. And at one point, I had a check written for several $1,000s to the editor of the memoriam reel to put Josh Molina in the Screen Actors Guild Awards memoriam reel, which would have been the greatest fucking thing ever because he would have been just declared dead to all of show
Yeah,
business.
yeah.
Luckily, the guy chickened out. It would have been horribly disrespectful,
I know, but you were so close.
but I was so close. So instead, I got a chance after Aaron left the West Wing, and people can look this up. I could bring it up now because I
Okay.
carry it with me. I got to write a couple of West Wings. And one of the episodes, all I knew was I wanted to humiliate Josh. And part of the storyline was that the president's son in law was having an affair. And Josh's character was now the press secretary. Allison's character was the chief of staff. This is after beloved
Yeah,
John Spencer.
later
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
And she brings him into his office and says the president's son-in-law is having an affair. And he's like, "Why did you tell me that?" And she's like, "Because you're the press secretary." He goes, "Yeah, I have to deal with the press. That's why I have to be the least informed person in the room. You taught me that." And she goes, "Suck it up." And he says, "I can't act. I'm a terrible actor. I don't like to pretend." And I wrote that, and one of those truly sweetest days of my life was when we had the read through, and John Wells was there, and John was like, "It really works." And so on national television, I carry the clip with me for those moments. You know, we all get exhausted, especially in these difficult times, and that
And you
just
need
sort
a
of,
pick me up.
you need a pick me up.
Yeah. Uh,
Let's move on.
okay. Are you okay?
Yes, yeah. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
Do you need a break? Because that
No,
was
no,
a
no.
lot.
No, I'm energized by,
You're okay.
yeah.
Um, are you someone who breaks on stage, or are you someone
Oh.
who keeps it together?
I enjoy the breaking wars. Um,
Do you
uh,
win? Do you win the breaking war?
I'm pretty good at it. I can tell you, uh, we got into some fast in Boeing, which was one of the most joyous.
Such a fun show.
Oh my God. And Rylance, we got in. First of all, Mary McCormick is the easiest person to break in the world. You know,
Okay.
all you do is say something serious cross-eyed to her.
Good to
You
know.
know, like we have to leave, and she falls to the floor. At one point,
She's done.
she
She's done.
sat down on the ground and dropped her German accent, which to me was a touchdown.
Yeah.
Catherine Hahn, very difficult,
So
very
she
difficult.
can, she's strong.
She's very strong. Mark Rylance, you know, the actor of our generation. Um, Mark actually, he had to have a tech rehearsal for this. There's a scene where Catherine and I are talking, and she runs into a bathroom and changes. And when she went backstage, um, uh, there was Mark Rylance was in a leather thong being whipped dangling in the air, being whipped by the costume guy on the butt. While I talked to her and she talked, and she didn't break at all.
She
You
stayed in,
know.
which also lets us know Mark is happy to be silly backstage.
Yes, and I rehearsed on my own. There was wainscoting. This is the stuff I care about.
Sure.
It appears to me this is what I'm
Yes. Yes.
passionate
We'll
about.
get into your activism later.
Yeah, 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 yeah. There was Wayne's. It's a door slamming farce set,
Yes. The
and
best.
there's a moment in the play where basically my character is has perfectly timed out. He's engaged to three stewardesses, and it's all timed out perfectly. And then Boeing comes out with a faster engine. Is the basic joke of the play, and the speed of the play. They all end up being there, and there is a moment where Mark's character turns to me and goes and says, "They're all here." And the line is, my line is, "Oh my God." And I remember in rehearsal, Matthew Warchus, who's a brilliant director, that runs I don't know if he's still running the Old Vic. Uh, I, I go, "Oh my God." And he's like, I think it's bigger. I think it's, and I'm like, "Oh my God." And he's like, and like, finally I'm like screaming it. And he goes, "That's close." And I'm like, "It's the first act. You know, I have no place to go from there." He's like, "That's your problem." So, right? So it has to be this huge thing. And I realized there was wainscoting that was like a little ledge about a yard or a little higher. And I realized if I trained, I could go, oh my God. And it would look like I was Spider Man. I would hang on to a door frame. By the way, this shoulder, a doctor recently told me, congratulations, you've outlived your shoulders. It's because of doing this prank. I could feel my shoulder kind of going out every time I did it, but it got such a big laugh that I continued to do it.
Yeah, you took it for the team.
I took it for the team, and I did it and totally cracked him up, and that made me
And that
happy.
made you so happy
Yes.
because it's the best feeling.
Oh, it's the best.
Allison, I think eh, we were talking about the scene where she has to actually, one of the harder things to do is laugh on purpose. Like it's one thing
Oh, I think
to,
laughing's harder than like
it's
the.
crying any day, laughing. And
Oh,
she has a West Wing
I'm
episode where
trying to
she has to
stop
be
myself from. I'm trying to stop myself from crying right now.
right now. I
Yeah.
know. Well, it's so happy to see each other. It's so moving.
I, no, I know, but laughing. I am a shitty laugher. Here, you want to hear my laugh? You ready?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a cystic fibrosis, problem.
Yeah.
I hate it when I have to laugh.
Well, luckily, for the most part, you don't. I mean, you weren't laughing a lot in Handmaid's Tale.
No, no, I was not
There were moments of levity in West Wing, but like Josh was rarely on the floor, like holding on to his
giggling.
stomach,
Yes,
giggling.
yes,
In The Diplomat, so far, I have not witnessed you
giggle
dying of laughter. So far you have like sort of cherry picked roles that
to
allow people,
avoid
yes,
joy.
and
Avoid
now
joy.
yeah, and now people have heard it here, and so, it's out there, but it's not generally what you lead with in your work.
Ugh.
It is obvious that the West Wing will be among the things if any people are like wanting to reference you and quickly go like which Brad? Oh, the Brad from West Wing.
Right.
Um, was that a part, obviously, that is part of your legacy? Was that hard to get? Like, was there an
Oh
audition
God.
process?
Yeah, it's a long. It's. Let me tell you the story.
Okay.
I. Aaron did not have power. First of all, I was doing 3 days of rain
My
with
favorite.
Slattery and Patty, and which was one of the greatest experiences of my life. And
Greatest experience of my life as an audience member. It's
that
it's
was a beautiful
behind
production.
my eyelids every day. I can see it all the time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Rich
yeah, yeah.
Greenberg, our beloved.
Our
Yes.
beloved. Um, and Aaron came to it and offered. Aaron was writing movies, and Aaron said, gave me the script to Sports Night and said, "Do you want to do this show?" And um, first of all, I thought Jane. We were just having our first child, and um, I had been offered a show that did not work called The Secret Lives of Men, which was picked up for 13 episodes. And Aaron's thing was just a pilot. And honestly, I thought Aaron at that point was big in movies. Television was seen as slumming. I thought he'd probably write the pilot and then not be involved, right?
Oh.
So, and he
Had you
totally
broken through? Had you started to work a lot in television at that point?
I had done a series of failed pilots.
But it was happening. Like you were getting TV work. You had broken
Yeah,
through.
I was getting, I was getting TV work, but I thought I was happy because I was making a living as a guest actor, and you
Right.
knew that most pilots didn't go, but I was able to do a series of those,
Hmm.
which allowed me to have, I worry about actors coming up now because there aren't pilots, there aren't
Yeah,
like
it's such a
development.
different,
Oh, it's so different. It's so much
yeah,
harder.
yeah.
Um, and then the show I was on failed, and it became clear that Aaron was, really into writing television, with Sports Night. Then, thank God, I couldn't do that because then I would not have been available for West Wing. So he
Mhm.
shows me this script. I'm like, holy shit! Like, and he's like, I wrote this part for you, and
That's
but
nice.
but yeah, but he didn't have the power then uh, in television, to give it to you. I Aaron's stuff, you got to get it. You got to get the technical obligation over with. You have to beyond memorize it before your blood can sort of flow while you're doing it. And when I was auditioning, for a week before that, I was walking in the hills in California, and I was not only off book, but just, running it. I would pretend I was acting badly and try to do it well.
Hmm.
I was trying to, and I had, and auditioning is a nightmare and I hate it. But I had absolutely, it could not have gone better. Aaron calls me and he goes, man, you made me look really good. It looked like I was going to get it. But Tommy, uh, uh,
Shlami.
Shlami, did not think I was right. Warner Brothers did not think I was right. What the feedback was, devastating shit. Like, not sexy, not funny. It's just like shit you don't want to hear.
Mm.
And Aaron, again, when he didn't have to, like really pushed, and uh, I've told this story before, but I remember I got a phone. I had a phone you could bring in your car, which was a weird
Uh-huh.
thing. And Aaron called and said, "You're in it, but you're playing Sam." And I I I said something to the effect- I was like, "Sam," uh, and I said, "I know I shouldn't play this card, but I'm gonna play it once." I'm like, "I'm not Sam. I'm not the guy with the hook. I'm the guy taking on the Christian right, aren't I?" And Aaron, and it's a good point. He's like, "Well, I'm gonna write it to you.
Yeah,
It's television, so it doesn't matter." And
right.
I'm
We're
like,
one episode in. It can go wherever it
"It
wants
can
to
go
go.
wherever it wants," which is
Yeah.
true. But I said, and I said, "But that's not what you wrote." And Aaron was like, "Let me see what I can do." And then I got a call the next day that like uh, that I think they were playing hardball with Rob. I think they were,
I see.
trying.
Like, hey, we have someone else we can give it to if you
Right,
don't make a
if we don't get
decision.
that, yeah, because that part was
So
right
you
for
didn't
her.
have to you didn't have to go back in again and prove
Oh yes, I
anything.
did.
You did. So
Yes,
now you know all those things about you that are not in their mind working in your favor, and you have to go audition again.
I had to go in. It was an excruciating
Oh my
process.
God. Yeah.
I had to go in uh, to read. Aaron was sort of pushing, and it was fuzzy. It was one of these frustrating things where it was after the initial sort of reticence about me. Um, they they wanted me to come in and read with Maura Kelly, who was one of the big, Rob and Maura were like
We're the
the
stars.
big
Yeah.
stars, and I went in and read with her, and uh, we got a phone call saying she blew him off the screen, and I was like, what? I like
That's not how it felt. That was
that's
not the
not
experience of doing it.
that was not the that was not the experience of of doing it. So it was brutal. And then to top it all off, so I do the show. I am still incredibly good friends with Tommy, and I would torture him about his reservations about me, and the hoops I had to jump through. We become very good friends. We win acting awards for the same episode, or, Emmys,
Yeah.
and become very, very good friends. After the fourth year, Aaron and Tommy leave suddenly, which is like David Koresh leaving the Branch Davidians. It's like, what? You know,
Wow.
and the show then, went on, for 3 more years. At the end of that, by the way, Allison and I talk about this all the time. That was too many episodes, 22. And it was a brutal, much more for the crew than for any of the actors.
Right. The
But the hours
brutal.
were
Yeah.
absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And it's a complicated, in the weeds story of the economics of television, but it made sense for them to do crazy hours. 70. Allison, I remember we shot 22 hours one time. Um, uh, One time after like 16 hours, people were falling asleep. It was dangerous, and I don't think they do it anymore. But trying to do good, complicated television for 22 episodes for the better part of a decade uh, is an experience that I am so grateful for as an actor. That kind of immersion of having to do it when you're tired, when you're sick, um, when you're feeling good, when you're feeling bad. That kind
Hmm.
of like uh, it's like journalists who become novelists. Like they're grateful for those. It was way too much
Yeah.
for everybody.
Yeah.
Aaron wrote 22 episodes a year for 4 years. That's the I would say Sopranos is as good as any mob movie. We were as good as any, political movie. So he's basically writing 11 high-end feature films, you
Yeah.
know, a year. It's insane. Uh,
I had this conversation with Ty Burrell. Do you know Ty?
a
He's such
little,
a
just a little bit, yeah.
wonderful, wonderful guy.
What
And
is the source of his rage?
he's so angry.
Oh my God, you won, and it's all vengeance.
He is
He's the sweetest guy.
the sweetest guy. And Modern Family is a show that was on constantly. It was like my kids' happy place. And
I loved
so
it.
so good. And he is so uniquely gifted. And you cannot imagine just the brilliant comedic, the
Oh,
Mark Rylance
yes,
of Half Hour.
he's
And
touched.
yes, and similarly, like absolutely was not going to be cast. Like they did not want him. They did not want him.
Oh,
And
they don't
finally,
know fucking anything.
the creator like did like a mini secret audition like in his backyard to show them like no like I'm telling you this is the guy. And so just the idea of like I mean it's just part of the process, it's just part of the story and fabric of what we do, that like the thing that Aaron had to go out on a limb for turned out to be like the the relationship between you, Bradley, and your character, Josh, was so quickly seamless. And it seemed to an audience effortless, and not that there were any contortions necessary, although you
Right.
could be a contortionist. We know that about you. You
Yes,
are
you
the
do.
most flexible.
I am.
Little known fact
Special
comes
skill.
early,
Special
special
skill.
skill. Um, when that show is done, it sounds like no one could have been more proud and exhausted uh, than this cast in certain ways. you ended up doing a lot more television. Was there any part of you that was like, wait, I don't know if I can do this again?
Yes. Listen, what I was getting to in that is I get the part.
Where does his rage come from?
I mean, it's just,
I'm,
it's
I'm 10
palpable.
minutes. I'm 10 minutes behind. I'm quickly like, wait, news, Ty Burrell, like incident at a 7-Eleven. I'm like,
Yeah,
wait, and
yeah, it's
you're so good.
constant.
I didn't know if there was something I didn't know about. Anyway,
Um, you're like Googling Ty
I'm
Burrell.
literally like, wait, because he seems so sweet on the
He's the
podcast.
sweetest guy in the world.
Yes.
Um, I'm really jealous of that experience. I'm dying to like that kind of comedy is
Light
just,
and fun
oh
and
my God.
pure candy. Yeah.
But I get to the end of 7 years of this, and it was a heartbreaking year. John Spencer passed away. Um, uh, we were all exhausted. Um, and uh, I, for a lot of reasons, thought I need to like shake my etch a sketch. And everybody's talking about Aaron and Tommy's new show, Studio 60.
Hmm.
And everybody's like, "Have you read it? Have you read it?" I'm like, "No, I didn't want to read it because I didn't want to do it,
Yeah.
and I didn't read it." And then I get a call from Aaron. They're casting it. I know they're casting it, and Aaron calls me. He goes, "Look, we're seeing a lot of people. I think this is your voice. Have you read it?" And I was like, "No." He said, "Will you read it? Will you do it?" And I went home and I read it. I had a very complicated conversation with a lot of people. After I read it, I was like, after you do a show like West Wing, do you go, well, I don't want to do that again. Maybe I'll do some shittier writing. Um, and then I remember thinking, maybe this is what you are. There's horses at the racetrack, and that's what they do. And like, you can do this kind of writing, and you enjoy it. And the fun thing, as an actor with Aaron's writing, when you do a comedy, there's this artificial need to be amusing, all the time. When you do a drama, there's this artificial requirement to be irony deficient, for the full hour.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
Aaron's writing is this mix, and
Yeah, it holds all of it.
right, it holds all of it. So I go, yeah, you know what? Yeah, yeah. I call him. I go, yeah, and I call my managers, and I go, I know it's
Sure.
crazy, but this is going to be like the eighth year Warner Brothers, um, and I got a call saying you're not going to believe this. They want you to audition. It was Tommy,
And you're like, I don't believe this.
and I was like, I was really upset. I think I called him and I said, "You want me to audition?" Like, and he's like, "I just want to see what the chemistry is like." And I guess it's a valid point. I was like,
It's a workplace show and lots of you're like, I did that. I did a workplace show.
right, but I want other actors out there to know that there is no point where the kind of it gets better, but you can always. I think people think actors are egomaniacs, and I actually think, in my experience, most of us just have like an incredible capacity for public humiliation,
Yeah. Yeah.
to kind of absorb it.
That's
But
the
I said to
talent.
him, I said, I'll do it in a pilgrim outfit, but I'm not going to take it seriously. And I ended up not having to audition, and
You didn't. So, but that was his impulse because that's how he works.
that's look, the problem for all. Well, this business is a terrible, terrible business, as you know. It's like dating a schizophrenic, even if you're lucky. But it's such an incredible activity. There's that moment in seventh grade, and then there's people telling you you're not attractive or you're not good or I just don't like you. But the business is awful. But I have always known, you're an example of this. I've always known, oh, I found my tribe. Like
Mhm.
these are my people. These open-hearted people who have the guts or the brain damage required to put your self-esteem on a platter and hand it to a schizophrenic. I like I it's a very difficult. Uh, there's no way you have these people with this assertive, open impulse, and then you put them into a business where they have no power,
Mhm.
and you have to kind of adopt a psychology of submission. It's what's dangerous about acting schools. Uh, and it gets perpetuated in the theater that we grew up in. The director, of a New York play, up until like the 1920s, there weren't stage directors. You just put the play on.
Yeah, and you had a stage manager.
Yeah, you had a stage manager who
Right,
made sure
right.
you entered and did the play.
Yeah.
When I did like years of regional Shakespeare and everything, and it's Mark Lamos's Midsummer Night's Dream. It
Hmm.
becomes this sort of originality contest for that artist, and we have to sort of fit in. And it's a dynamic that I struggle with, like that thing with Tommy, who is a dear friend of mine. I used to laugh because the way that, like, in the fourth year of West Wing, I would say to Tommy, I act better when you're not in the room. After doing like 80 episodes with him, and actors are always for me, because I've been far luckier than I ever imagined I would be. I still struggle with that dynamic of people pleasing and submission, because the greatest directors understand, on a film set where there's a lot of pressure. There's two atmospheres you can have. One is, I can't wait to see what you're going to do. And the other
Hmm.
is, I hope you don't fuck this up. And
Hmm.
the really good directors and the big name drops that I have, of whether it's Jordan Peele or Spielberg, they can't wait.
Yeah.
They can't wait to see what you're going to do. And it's very hard, unless you're very lucky, to get in a position where you're in the atmosphere that I think is absolutely the most productive. I mean, I really feel like, at Juilliard and in a lot of regional theater, I was dealing with a lot of, like, British acting Nazis.
Hmm.
Um, and I used to feel really insecure that I should be able to deal with that. With the luck that I've had, I realize it's just not productive. That's all just
Hmm.
fear based. And
Hmm.
there's a connection to parenting. Bad actors overact, bad writers overwrite, bad directors overdirect, bad parents overparent. And you owe your kid the opportunity to surprise you,
Hmm.
and uh, directors who are not fear based know that it serves them if the actor doesn't feel like the director knows how the part should be played
Hmm.
more than I
More
always
than
see
the
the
person playing it.
sort
Yeah.
sort of sort of parenting. And I think, which is why I think I do. I hope I do everything. I think it should be as fun as possible, no matter what the material is. I don't care, because it has to feel like recess, not school.
So because you direct now also,
Yeah.
um, have you been directing in the world of self-tapes, or were you directing already before COVID and when people came in a room and you were behind a table as actors came in?
I did some before. I mean, it's heartbreaking. During I always think of there was a scene in a Handmaid's episode that I was directing. It was a scene that I was working to get cut, and eventually was, and I
Okay.
knew it was going to get cut. But time was crunched, and they had to cast it while I was negotiating with them to
To
making
not
the
even
case
have it. Yeah.
that we shouldn't have it. And it was parents whose kids had been abducted, and they are told that the plane that is bringing their kids home has cleared airspace, and the line is yes. And I watched, you know, 30 people do that,
Hmm.
and they were all good. It's impossible.
I mean, that contact, absurd, right?
Absurd. Some people are crying, and
Yeah.
and um, I know how much time it takes. The real problem now, and I'm very lucky. Like Amy has to do those all the time. I don't
Hmm.
have to do those. Uh, and my manager I've had the same manager. My manager, Adina Chalk, got part of the reason I've been with her for almost 30 years. She would not take no for an answer when Warner Brothers said, "What do you not understand? Brad is not going to play this part."
Uh-huh.
She refused to take no for an answer. Most agents will take no for an answer because they have to deal with Warner Brothers. They don't want to be a pain in the ass.
Right. Or
And
have someone else. They're like,
right,
okay, well, wait, what about Raul? Right? Like they'll be
right,
like, okay, not Brad. Right.
right. And she really pushed. She did that, and she was tracking this little movie, Get Out, that this little
Incredible.
teeny indie. Yeah,
Yes,
Jesus.
terrifying and incredible.
And she told me recently that for her clients, have to audition, it is easier for her to get the showrunner on the phone than to get the casting director on the phone to ask the question, did my client, spent several days working on this tape. Did you watch it? Did
Yeah.
anybody watch it?
Yeah.
Because people are not, it is really incredible that they found a way to make the most excruciating thing worse.
When you got a call about The Diplomat, a
Hmm.
show that I love watching that
Yeah,
show. I
yeah,
love
yeah, me too.
like I'm a fan of that show. And I would be a fan, even if Allison weren't on it. Like I just think everybody's amazing.
Me
When
too.
you got a call about it, had you seen it yet? Because you came in season two, right? Or season three? I don't remember.
Yeah,
No,
season
no,
4.
season three is filming now, correct? Or is it season four?
It's season 4.
Okay,
Yeah, I
sorry.
came in
Did
season
you
3.
watch the show?
Yes, and I was jealous of the show. I was
Hmm.
jealous of uh, the experience I could see that they're having.
And the writing being really
Yes,
good.
and I knew Deborah because Deborah, when Aaron left, was just one of the ringers in the
Deborah
writers.
Kahn.
Yeah, and her writing is very it's different from Aaron's, but it shares um, this sort of kitchen sink quality. We used to joke that Aaron writes like he's on a first date. Like, okay, this is going to be funny. I'm going to make you cry. I'm going to make you think a little bit. It's like, fucking
Yes. And you're
everything.
so going to want to see me again.
And you're so going to want to see me again
Yeah.
because one of these things is going to connect.
Yeah.
We'll have some physical humor. Allison's going to fall down while she says something smart and fun. And her writing shares that. And at the center of this show is this furnace, this metaphor furnace that is just kind of brilliant. I knew from writing on West Wing when the best episodes spun like a chromosome where
Huh.
the issue you were dealing with was vibrating with the soap opera
Right. With the
of
personal.
with the personal,
Yeah.
and that is just part of every frame of the diplomat because
Yeah.
international diplomacy is a metaphor for navigating, you know, grown-up relationships.
Yeah. Marriage. All of
So
that.
I was like, I was like dying to do it, and I, uh, I knew, it was the same thing kind of happened on Handmaids. It was a show that I thought was unbelievable, and I knew the guest shot, if it worked out, it's a guest shot, but it's kind of an audition.
Yeah.
Um, uh, you know, uh, but I was dying to do it because the older I get, it really is. Uh, Most movies don't work. Most television shows don't work. It's alchemy. And my experience of that sort of miracle of a writer and a cast and a material at a moment in a culture uh, uh, doesn't make me take that for granted. It makes me realize how rare
I know,
that
but
is. And
Bradley, I mean, transparent, like you've had that more times than most people have had that, where like the zeitgeist of a culture and the zeitgeist of a show meet each other in this like extraordinary alchemy way. Like that has happened to you so many times. I mean, obviously not every time, but it's
right,
kind of happening again. And then the idea of people not being afraid of you. Like I could imagine someone going, we can't have Brad Whitford and Allison Janney married in this show because they were friends in this other world that people are
right, right, right,
so uh invested in and
right.
new generations are watching these shows, right? Like because of streaming, it's like they think West Wing is a new show. Like they don't know. So was there a
Well,
conversation about that?
yeah, 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 yeah. Well, it's funny. I mean, that was Tommy's reservation, I think, about me in Studio 60. And I remember
Mm,
saying to him, um, "You're worried about the audience? They know I'm acting.
yeah, they're smart.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
when they see you in a pilgrim suit, they'll
And
know
when they see me in a
you're not
pilgrim suit,
Josh Lyman.
they'll definitely know." I listen. I was not worried. I wasn't worried about it. It's been so much fun because, um, uh, Alice. uh, uh, Taking that history and putting it into a complicated, long marriage, it just felt like really, really easy.
Yeah.
Allison is absolutely like a sibling to me. I think she said publicly that kissing me was like kissing her brother, and
Mm,
I said that it turns out her brother's a fucking amazing kisser. Um,
how lucky.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's been,
Do you giggle like when you are quote unquote in a intimate scene with your sibling, in this case, not your sibling, but another,
yes.
like are you guys
It
it's
was
just this is the
complete
job,
working
it's fine.
working with her. you know, we did 10,000 hours together,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
and, you know, I think I'm always amazed at like part of the neurosis of being an actor is until the scene works, I don't know if it ever will.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem. And even you know, all the way through West Wing, that's the kind of, you know, agitated fear that is
That
uh,
is Brad Whitford.
right. But with Allison, I know I know it's gonna work, and then I know it's gonna like get like really interesting and fun. It's a complete joy. You know, you hear like you know, siblings who sing together, you know, like the Righteous Brothers and stuff, and the Bee Gees. Like, there's something about the harmonies that siblings can sort of
Yeah.
get together just because of their. And
Their
I
DNA and
feel that
experience.
way.
Yeah.
I feel like when we're you know, we were doing a scene 2 days ago, and just, you know, I just, you know, it's all second nature with her,
That's
and
so
she's
great.
just she can't be bad.
No, she can't. And she can't tell you how she does it and doesn't know how she does it. And
No, she's
that's the
not precious
magic.
about it.
No, no. But like you, she's prepared. She's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
incredibly prepared so that anything can happen. And that's a
I
really
think that look,
beautiful thing.
she I mean, one thing I do know, and you know, there's like the load was so heavy on West Wing that there were certainly times that I wasn't there, but uh, you know, honestly, until I have my lines down, I think it's a total waste of time.
Hmm.
Um, and you see actors put a lot of stress on themselves, you know, when they come there. And I've seen, you know, really big time actors who think that there is a virtue in not preparing. I don't think that's true. And by the way, I think rehearsing a play, I think so much of that time sitting around a table talking about acting is like dancing about architecture. I mean, you can do it all fucking day, but
Hmm.
it doesn't mean anything. And I, in my experience, um, you should. I never worked with him, but I know Dan Sullivan was just like, you know, learn your lines, and you know, he wouldn't say much.
Right.
Uh,
Let's get it out on its feet and
run
see
it.
what happens.
Any
Yeah.
play you've ever done has gotten better
Yeah.
two
Months
weeks
in.
after the director leaves, and
Yeah,
you're just
no,
running it.
totally. Yeah,
Yeah,
and you feel free.
yeah.
Okay, I know you have so much going on,
No,
so
I'm fine.
I want to say
Yes.
uh thank you. This has been tremendous fun for me, and watching you over all these years just like kill it over and over again, and also be so front and center for the things that you believe in with like unabashed um commitment and a willingness to do and say hard things. I really admire you as
It's
a
a
human.
crazy, crazy time, boy.
Yeah, and so it's an amazing thing to behold. Before I let you go,
Yes.
is there a little known fact about you that you can share?
Um, I recently was meeting my son at a bar in the financial district. Um, and I went into I was waiting for him, kind of cursing him for the genetic lateness that he has. And it was this like kind of crowded bar. And I went in to take a leak, and uh, after I assumed my manly stance, I heard screaming and I was on my knees, and there was sweat coming down, and I realized I had just passed a kidney stone, and I was on my knees in this tiny little, uh, and um, and I was sweating, and I look in the toilet, and I had to get it out
Wait, you had to get the kidney stone out
of the toilet
of
bowl
like to show to somebody?
to have it analyzed.
That's what you do.
Yeah,
I
because
don't
I
have familiarity with kidney stone,
I, I
knock
have a
wood, yet.
genetic propensity for that, and
Okay. So you knew what was happening because it had happened before.
no, it happened quickly. It took me a second, but then
Right.
when I anyway, that's a little. But my little known fact is I'm like a Pez dispenser. I have a genetic. I've had like 30 kidney stones.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. That seems awful and painful, but if that's part of who you have to be to do what you've done,
It's humbling.
I want to
It,
say
it keeps me grounded.
thank you. All right, hang on. Hang on. Okay.